אני לא עוזב.
אבותינו שורשים,
ואנחנו הפרחים המנגינות,
שבט אחים ואחיות,
אותה שכונה,
אותו רחוב,
תרס ארבנים
של יעקב,
אוספים ביחד נדודים בתוך תרמיל געגועים. אדם לא כאן זה לב ואותך אני לא עוזב. אבוא
מבראשית הכל תפור, טלאים טלאים של הסיפור, כמו שתי מילים להתחבר בחוט זהב של משורר. אני מכאן אני שייך, וכל חבר שלי כמו אח.
אתה פועמת בלבבי, אני מזרח מערבי.
כאן זה לב ואותך אני לא אבותינו שורשים, ואנחנו הפרחים המנגינות,
שבט אחים ואחיות.
כאן זה בית, כאן זה לב ואותך אני לא עוזב. אבותינו שורשים, ואנחנו הפרחים המנגינות, שבט אחים ואחיות, ואותך אני לא עוזב. אבותינו שורשים, ואנחנו הפרחים המנגינות, שבט אחים ואחיות,
שבט אחים
רק בנו בחר לעם סגולה מכל העמים, בכל אחד ואחד מאיתנו בוערת אמונה מבפנים. לאן שלא אלך זה מלווה אותי ביום ובלילה, ואהבת ישראל תנצח, אהבה שלא די לה. כי אני יהודי, כולם אחים שלי פה, וכשאני לעצמי אני לא מוצא את האור. כל מה שיביאו לי, כל מה שיגידו לי, כלום לא יעזור. כי אני יהודי, רק איתכם אני רוצה, רק איתכם אני מוצא אור. זה זמן גאולה, ניצץ בתפילה קדימה אחים, שיום יבוא וכל אחד מאיתנו יגלה את האור מבפנים. אז בוא לכאן אחי, כן רק תלך איתי ונעלה עד למעלה. אהבת ישראל תנצח, אהבה שלא די לה. כולם אחים שלי פה, וכשאני לעצמי אני לא מוצא את האור. כל מה שיביאו לי, כל מה שיגידו לי, רוצה, רק איתכם אני מוצא אור. כי אני יהודי, כולם אחים שלי פה, וכשאני לעצמי אני לא מוצא את האור. כי אני יהודי, כולם אחים שלי פה, כשאני לעצמי אני לא מוצא את האור. כל מה שיביאו לי, כל מה שיגידו לי, כלום לא יעזור. כי אני יהודי, רק איתכם אני רוצה, רק איתכם אני מוצא אור.
תשיב בי את הרוח, תוריד ממני את הגשם. היה לי ים זמן לנוח, התרגלתי קצת בעצם, ובמרחב הפתוח רואים באופק את השמש. אין ספק אני בטוח, בסוף עוד תתבהר הדרך. רק פתח לנו שערי אמונה, שערי הבנה, שאין לנו מלך אלא אתה. סיבת הסיבות, עילת העילות, נורת העילות, ורק לך נאה להודות על כל הימים וכל הלילות. מציאות אחרת, לפדות את אסירי הכוח ולחודי הרשת, גם לקבל את השחור לבן עם כל צבעי הקשת. משנה אבות פרק ג', חביב אדם שנברא בצלם. רק פתח לנו שערי החלה, שערי התחלה, כי אין לנו מלך אלא אתה. סיבת הסיבות, עילת העילות, נורת העילות, ורק לך נאה להודות על כל הימים וכל הלילות. רק אתה, סיבת הסיבות, עילת העילות, נורת העילות, ורק לך נאה להודות על כל הימים וכל הלילות.
Okay, hello everyone. Myra, can we start?
Yes, I'm starting it right now.
Ready to start? Okay, hello everyone. Welcome, and thank you for joining Palm Beach Synagogue's information meeting. So since the summer of 2001, Palm Beach Synagogue has been leading trips to Israel to show our love and support and solidarity with the people and our homeland. And we've taken incredible community trips for trips for the community, trips for teens. For five summers, we volunteered with teens in Israel, and we've taken women to Israel for 4 summers and quite a few community trips. And there were times when we were able to stop on the way to Israel. We stopped in Spain and Prague and Budapest. So we really had wonderful, incredible trips together as a community. And all of our itineraries, and those of you who've traveled with us know, our itineraries are really a fantastic mix of Israeli culture, activism, recreation, off the beaten track sites, meeting with dignitaries and personalities in Israel, and really getting the feel of Israel from the inside out, and not your typical Israel itinerary. Our days are full and fun and rewarding. And we look for programs, sites, and personalities that really give us the feeling of what it's like to live in Israel. And we come away with a renewed vigor and commitment to Israel and to our brothers and sisters who live there. We're also very fortunate at the synagogue to have incredible friends and contacts in Israel that make our trips unique. And of course, traveling with our rabbi really makes the trip enjoyable and memorable, and all the Torah tidbits on the bus rides, and just to travel with the rabbi and experience Israel together with him is very special. Personally, I'm really excited to be able to travel together as a community after a most difficult 18 months or so for all of us, and for Israelis, all of us coming off COVID with practically, specifically Israel, with no tourism, and the latest 11-day war. This trip is the strongest statement we can make in solidarity with them as they continue to protect our homeland. So later on in the program, we'll review the first draft of our itinerary. Please keep in mind that we plan to tweak this itinerary to perfection to give us the best possible experience. Also, once we see who's coming on, we'll be able to fine-tune the trip to our participants even better. So I would definitely like to hear feedback on the itinerary for those of you who are signing up to travel with us. So please feel free to email me or call me with your ideas, and I'll see if I can fit it into the itinerary. And later on in the program, hope to keep this meeting about 45 minutes. Later on in the program, we'll have a Q&A. If you can type your questions into the chat box, I'll do my best to answer it. So welcome everyone, and I'm really excited to explore our itinerary and our trip together tonight. At this time, I'd like to hand over the microphone to Rabbi for Advar Torah.
Good evening, everyone. It's wonderful to see everyone participating in this call, and we're looking forward to what promises to be a wonderful trip to Israel. And I want to thank Dini again for organizing and arranging this trip, and she will be our phenomenal, not only hostess, but planner. And so this trip will be a fantastic trip, like every trip that Palm Beach Synagogue conducts. So it's by divine providence that this week's Torah portion is about the 12 spies who were sent by Moshe Rabbeinu to go to the land of Israel. And we all know the story. It's a tragic tale of 10 spies who come back with a disparaging report. However, there were 2 good spies, Joshua and Caleb. Now we know how Joshua managed to succeed in returning with a positive report, because before the 12 spies left on the mission, Moshe Rabbeinu changes the name of Joshua. His name formerly was Hoshea bin Nun, and Moshe Rabbeinu adds the letter Yud to his name, making it Yehoshua. And we know that Yud before a Hey is the name of God. So by inserting the name of God in his name and changing it from Hoshea to Yehoshua, he actually receives a blessing, as Moshe Rabbeinu tells him, may God save you, Yashea, may God save you from the negative advice of the spies. So with that blessing of Moses, he succeeded. But when we ask ourselves, where did Caleb get the strength, the fortitude, the courage to stand up to the other 10 spies and speak so positively about the land of Israel, as he says to the other spies and to the nation, we can go up. We will go up and inherit the land. What was the source of his strength? And here Rashi points out the following. It says that the 12 spies, Vayalu Negev, they went up in the Negev in the south. And then it says, Vayavo, and he came ad Chevron, to Chevron. And Rashi lets us in on a little secret. And he says that, when you have a group on a trip, there's always one guy who goes off to do something on his own. Well, that was Kalev. All the spies were touring, and Kalev took a little detour on his own, and he went to Chevron. Why Chevron? Vayavo, just Kalev alone went to Chevron. Why did he go to Chevron? So Rashi says he went to the grave of the patriarchs and the matriarchs in Chevron to pray for the strength and the clarity to be able to withstand the pressure of the other spies and come back with a positive report. And that, says Rashi, was why Kalev was the only other spy besides Yeshua who came back with a positive report. And so what we see from this very verse, based on Rashi's interpretation, is that going all the way back to 3,300 years ago, it was a well-known secret that if you go to the resting place of the patriarchs and the matriarchs and other righteous people, that is a source of divine blessing and strength for you. And Kalev turned to the patriarchs' graves to pray for that ability to come back with a good report. And that's the beauty of going to the land of Israel. Israel is the most beautiful country, and we always have a wonderful time there. And the people of Israel are just incredible. But there's also tremendous spirituality and holiness in Israel. And when we go to the Kotel or we go to Hebron, and that's something we always do, we go to the grave of the patriarchs and the matriarchs, and we walk the land of our ancestors, we bring back with us, like Kalev, tremendous strength and courage and fortitude and pride and conviction in our Jewishness and in our connection to the land of Israel and the Jewish people. And that's why there's no trip like a trip to Israel, because it combines the best of heaven and earth, the physical and the spiritual. And it promises to be not just an enjoyable, wonderful time, but also an uplifting, inspiring, and stirring spiritually time for all of us. And we will come back to Palm Beach with renewed strength, and like the good spies, will bring back good tidings and good wishes and greetings from Israel to our community back in Palm Beach. So thank you all for joining us tonight, and we look forward to a wonderful trip together.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. That was very inspiring and appropriate, especially for this week. Okay, so at this point, we're going to have some remarks from Israel, remarks from our tour guide, John T. Blackman. When we went to Israel in 2017, we had our tour guide was John T. Blackman. He is from South Africa, but he lives in Israel now for quite some time. And we had him as a tour guide in 2017. And then when we went to Israel with the women, he was a tour guide as well on the Momentum trip. So we really got to know him, and he's a fabulous tour guide. He's got great energy, a wealth of knowledge, wonderful personality. And let's hear some remarks from John T. Blackman.
Hi all at Palm Beach Synagogue. My name's John T. Blackman. Last time there was a trip from Palm Beach Synagogue, I was the guide. And I've been a guide here for many, many years. Except, as you know, since Corona hit us, since COVID hit us all, we've been sitting at home waiting. And the truth is, I still have not gone out to guide physically, waiting for you to come. And hopefully next month when you arrive will be my first time that I'm out guiding again, being able to share the most amazing elements of Israel with you. From the north to the south, from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv, come and join. You will not be sorry. Rabbi Andini Shiner put together a fantastic trip, and together we'll make sure that when you come to visit Israel, it will be absolutely a trip of a lifetime. Looking very forward to sharing this experience with you.
Thank you very much, John T. And now I'd like to introduce Zev Jacobson. He's also a South African living in Israel for many years. And he is our tour operator. He was our tour operator in 2017 as well. And it was a fantastic trip that ran very, very smoothly. And so we signed up with Zev Jacobson from Israel Maven Tours. And he's going to give us a little bit more of a practical lay of the land in terms of itinerary, but also in terms of entry into Israel during these times. So I welcome you to listen to Zev Jacobson from Israel Maven Tours, our tour operator.
Hi everyone, it's Zev Jacobson here from Beit Shemesh, Israel. I'm the owner of Israel Maven Tours, and we're going to be running the upcoming Palm Beach Synagogue trip to Israel, taking place in July. I'm sorry I can't be with you neither live nor in Zoom due to the time differences, but I wanted to say, number one, that we're very excited to be working again with the synagogue, with Rabbi Moshe and Dini. In 2017, we ran the Israel trip for you guys, and we're very excited to be doing it once again. We have a great tour guide lined up, fantastic itinerary. All we need now is just a little bit of luck, Hashem's help, and we'll be welcoming you all in Israel in a little over 7 weeks. And a couple of points that I just wanted to mention. Number one, as you know, currently COVID regulations are only allowing, in Israel, they're only allowing groups to come into Israel. So tourists who are coming, like as individuals, etc., at this point in time are not being allowed access, not being allowed entry. So in terms of that, it basically means that everybody's going to be flying in on the same flight, flying out on the same flight. By the way, anything that I mentioned to you is the current regulations, and they are subject to change. But I'm going to tell you how things currently work. In order to be able to fly into Israel under the current regulations, number one, you need to either be fully vaccinated or have recovered from COVID or have the presence of antibodies in your blood in order to be able to travel. Before traveling, one needs to take a PCR test and come up with a negative result. That's within 72 hours of flying. When you land in Israel, under current regulations, all tourists have a serological test, which is basically to test for the presence of antibodies in your blood. Once you have the test, you go to the hotel, self-quarantine in the room until the results come out. It can take anything between 4 to 12 hours. And once the results of the serological tests come out positive, which means that you have antibodies in your blood, the message goes to the Ministry of Health, and you no longer need to stay in quarantine in your room, and you can continue your flight. You can continue, your trip as normal. Those are the current regulations. Again, things may change, which means that anyone who has not been vaccinated or has not recovered from COVID, does not have antibodies, presence of antibodies, at this point in time will not be allowed access, not allowed entry into Israel. Which also means that children who are not able to be vaccinated and who have not recovered from COVID, at this point in time are also not allowed entry into Israel. So something to bear in mind. A couple of things I wanted to mention about the itinerary. It's a work in progress. Been working together with Rabbi Moshe and with Dini on the itinerary. What we're trying to do is to make an experience which is off the beaten track, something that has a lot to offer, even if people, if it's their first time or if you've been many times to Israel before, something new. Palm Beach Synagogue has a lot of partners and partnerships in Israel, and we're trying to take full advantage of that to go to places and to sites that other groups quite simply cannot have access to. So that's something which is really great. We've got a fantastic guide lined up, Jonty Blackman. Those of you who may remember him if you were with us in 2017. But of course, the itinerary is subject to change. A lot of the things we're planning on doing, we're hoping to do, but they may change. As we see exactly who our core group is of people who are coming, we may make some fine adjustments, fine tuning to the itinerary to see which things should be included or changed. There's a lot of great projects and things going on. So if you have particular contacts in Israel, particular projects that you think are amazing, speak to Dini, speak to Rabbi Moshe, and we'll see if there's ways of including them as well. In terms of the speakers, in terms of the sites, as I said, things are work in progress. So expect to receive updates. A couple of other things I wanted to mention. In Israel, currently people were still mandated to wear masks only indoors. Outdoors, there's no requirement to wear masks. By the time you guys come in 7 weeks' time, there may not be a requirement at all. We don't know. But most of the other requirements have actually been lifted. So in terms of transportation, how many people are allowed on a bus at a time, in terms of events, in terms of sites, most of the restrictions have been lifted, which means that hopefully when you guys come, you'll be able to enjoy Israel to its fullest. So if we're talking about going to concerts, so if it's sports games, going to various sites, hopefully all of those will be continuing as normal. You're actually coming when it's holidays in Israel, which is great. The weather is fantastic. I understand people from Florida aren't scared of the heat at all, but it's really good. The rest of Israel will also be on vacation. It's a great time to be here. There's a lot going on, a lot happening, and it's going to be fantastic. One or two other points that I just wanted to mention. Number one, we need to get permission for the group to visit Israel. Permission is, we request permission from the Ministry of the Interior, from the Ministry of Health. We need to submit the names, passport details of all of the participants on the trip. There's a lot of different forms that need to be filled out, etc. And as we go on, we'll send all of those forms to you that you can take care of everything that needs to be done so we can get the permission for everybody to come in. But until we receive the official permission, we don't know 100% for sure that the trip is going to be taking place. Hopefully, by the beginning of July, we will have a definite answer one way or the other. So that's at least 3 weeks before the trip that we'll know exactly what's going on. But it is important that if you are purchasing flights, make sure that at this point in time, you can either get a refund for your flights or you can change them without any penalty. Because as I said, until we have permission, we don't know 100% for sure that the trip is going to be taking place. In terms of travel insurance, etc., that's also something to take into account. I just wanted to say that in regular years, we request a deposit of $500 per person. In this case, because we're not sure that trip is definitely going to be taking place, right now we're asking just for a small deposit of around $150 per person, which is refundable. And as things go along, of course, we're going to let you know where things are standing in terms of the permission, etc. If the trip doesn't take place because of the COVID regulations and we don't get permission to come through, then obviously full refund, so there's no issue over there. Once we know that the trip will be happening, then we will ask for payment. And then, of course, in terms of the cancellation policy, etc., we'll send to everybody so that you can see exactly what the cancellation policy is in terms of the trip insurance and what needs to be done. Let's see, sorry, I thought I paused for a moment. My apologies. What I do want to say as well, just in terms of the price, we're trying to make things as much as possible that that the trip is affordable for all those who want to be able to come on the trip. We're staying at great hotels. We're going to be staying at the Waldorf Astoria in Jerusalem. I'm sure all of you know. They've recently just opened up the spa as well in the hotel. It's a really great hotel in terms of location. We're right next to the old city. We're very close to Ben Yehuda Street. We're not so far away from the first train station. So it's a really, really great location, a really great hotel. When we go to the north, we're going to be staying at a hotel called the Mitzpeh Hayamim, because basically Mitzpeh means to look out, Yamim to the seas. If you look out in one direction, you can see the Kinneret, the Sea of Galilee, and in the other direction, you can see the Mediterranean. It's just outside Tzfat. The hotel itself has been fully renovated and just reopened a couple of months ago. Fantastic hotel, really great place in terms of being a base. And then we're going to be spending one night in Tel Aviv, and that's going to be at the Hilton Hotel. So great hotels throughout. We're going to be including the majority of the meals. Of course, we're going to have a luxury air-conditioned bus with us. John T. Blackman, as I mentioned before, is going to be the guide. It's a 5-star trip, but of course, we're going to try and make it as affordable as possible as we can for everybody. And of course, we're going to be doing some great activities, which are also included. So if there are questions, which I'm sure there are, And as I'm speaking, I'm thinking to myself, okay, what other stuff have I forgotten that people know, and can I remember before I end my live stream over here on YouTube? I'm sure there'll be plenty questions. More than happy to answer. You can be in touch with me directly, Zev, Z-E-V, at israelmaven.com. That's ISRAELMAVEN.com. Of course, you can get my details from Dini or from the rabbi. We can ask them any questions as well. Always here to help to the best of our ability. And I do hope that the next time we see you all will be at Ben Gurion Airport in July. So thank you very much, and have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you, Zev, for that all that information. Just to add a few things from what Zev mentioned. So the $150 refundable deposit gets paid directly to Israel Maven Tours, Zev Jacobson. And also hold off on purchasing your ticket at this moment. We're trying to figure out if we all have to travel together on the same flight or not. And we're gonna find that out over the weekend, and next week, I think we'll have a better idea if we have to fly together or we meet in Ben Gurion Airport on the 20th in the morning. So if you're interested in joining the trip after you hear all about the itinerary, let Myra know so she can put you on the list, and we'll be in touch with you directly. A bus has about 50 seats, so we don't want to max out all the seats on the bus. So we're looking to cap it around 35, 40 people max. We want a few extra seats on the bus. So it's a first come, first serve basis, and just let Myra know, and she'll send you the information to send Israel Maven Tours the $150 refundable deposit. Okay, so getting to our itinerary. So if you look at the calendar, we chose these dates obviously because we wanted to give more time for Israel to establish their travel rules. But also, if you look at the calendar, Tisha B'Av is on July 18. And so we try not to travel in the 10 days before Tisha B'Av. So it works really well where we will be, God willing, leaving the day after Tisha B'Av. What's really nice about that time is that, before Tisha B'Av, there's no music or, weddings or any celebrations, but after Tisha B'Av, it's very celebratory, especially in Israel. There's lots of concerts and outdoor events and lots of music and outdoor concerts in Jerusalem. So it's a very exciting time to be in Israel. So that's as far as the dates. So we leave on the 19th and we arrive on July 20th in the morning. The flights that I saw, one flight, the El Al direct Miami flight from Miami to Tel Aviv arrives, if I saw correctly, at 7 a.m., leaves on the 19th at noon. That would be a really nice flight to take. But again, don't purchase your tickets quite yet. God willing, next week we'll have that finalized. So we arrive on the 20th. So if you can see day one, we arrive at Ben Gurion Airport. We're going to take a test at the airport, and then we're going to transfer to the Waldorf Astoria. We're going to check in there and quarantine for a few hours at the airport, waiting for our test results. God willing, we'll have our test results within 6 hours or so, hopefully. And then we'll enjoy a spectacular lookout over Jerusalem at the Haas Promenade, have some wine and some beautiful music. And then we'll go for a reflection at the Kotel, the Western Wall. After that, there's an incredible school. It's a building, it's an organization called Shalva. It's a Shalva National Center, and it provides an all-encompassing range of services for thousands of special needs children with disabilities, from infancy to adulthood and their families. It's an incredible edifice, really incredible. layers. It's just incredible what's going on there. And we'll get to meet Kalman and his wife and his wonderful wife and his son Yassi, and hear the whole story of how Shalva came to be. That evening, hopefully, we'll be going to Derech HaGeffen restaurant. It's actually a little bit out in the forests of Jerusalem, on a kibbutz, a Derech HaGeffen kibbutz, but it's an incredible restaurant that most people don't know about. Most Israelis know about it, or some Israelis. Actually, Zev didn't know about it. I'd been there many times, and it's just incredible. It's like a little slice of heaven, a little Garden of Eden outside, and the food is incredible. So we'll be eating there, God willing, with Natan Sharansky, the government minister and head of the Jewish Agency. We hope that his wife joins us as well. So that is our first day. Our second day, again, is in Jerusalem. And we start out at the City of David. Now, many of us have been to the City of David, but it's an ongoing excavation site. And so therefore, there's constantly new information to see, new excavations to see. So it's quite incredible. And we're gonna go to excavations with an archaeologist digging on the site that is not open to the general public. We're gonna have a catered lunch at the City of David, and then enjoy an in-depth tour of the security barrier with the chief architect of the security barrier, Dr. Danny Tirza, and understand the many complex security and demographic and humanitarian issues at play right now. After the security barrier, we're going to visit United Hatzalah and meet with Arab and Jewish first responders who are saving lives daily, working together, hand in hand, saving lives, volunteering in Jerusalem and all over Israel. We're going to have a dinner in the heart of the Judean desert overlooking the Dead Sea. It's going to be like a dinner desert experience at Mezuke Dragut. And we're going to overnight in the Waldorf Astoria. Day 3, Thursday, we are going to depart and learn about the Jewish communities in Gush Katif that were uprooted in 2005 as part of the disengagement plan at the Katif Center in Nitzan. We're going to look out over the border with Gaza and a briefing from the head of security of Shar HaNegev. We'll go very, very close to the Gaza border. Obviously, we're gonna have good security, and we won't go anywhere that has issues at that time. We're gonna have lunch at the kibbutz and interact with residents at kibbutz Alumim and hear how they deal with the challenging security environment on both the communal and individual level. We're gonna meet with soldiers, commanders who operate an Iron Dome battery pending military approval. So this is something that groups cannot go to. Thank God we have a contact at FIDF who already was in touch with me, sent me an email, and already confirmed that they're going to allow us to go and see the Iron Dome battery, which is amazing. Obviously pending military approval, but the FIDF already gave me a heads up that from their point of view, it's a go. So that's very exciting because it's not something that you can go visit the Iron Dome battery, and because it's used and it's in the news, unfortunately, we'll be able to actually see, and it's incredibly relevant. Then we're going to go to an interesting experience called the Salad Trail Experience. We're going to find out how blue and white agro-tech is helping feed millions of people around the globe at the hands on a salad trail experience, which is, I've never been, but Zev told me it's incredible just to see how the Israelis grow everything and sell all their produce. We'll return to Jerusalem and give everyone a little bit of time to have dinner on their own. You could meet with family and friends. That'll kind of be a free evening for you to meet up and to go out on the town on your own if you'd like. On Friday, we're going to go to the beautiful Binyamin region. It's one of the most beautiful regions in Israel. But we're going to start in Jerusalem. We're going to start at Ammunition Hill. Now, I'm sure if you've been to Israel, you've been to Ammunition Hill, but recently they started this private tour with Alon Wald, whose father, Rami, was killed in action at the onset of the battle. Now, I've been to Ammunition Hill many, many times, but listening to Alon Wald talk about the story is just riveting and heartbreaking and incredible. So it really brings the story of 1967 and the whole story of Ammunition Hill alive. Once we finish Ammunition Hill, which is in Jerusalem, we're going to go out to Shiloh, biblical Shiloh. And this is where the tabernacle stood when the Jewish people went into Israel from the desert. The tabernacle, the Mishkan, stood in Shiloh for approximately 360 years, approximately in Shiloh. And that's where the story of Hannah happened and Eli, and it's really where our Jewish history began, in Israel, in Shiloh. We're going to have lunch at the Sagot Winery with the presidential candidate. Well, she's no longer a candidate anymore today. She didn't win the candidacy, but she still was a presidential candidate. The amazing woman, the amazing mother and wife and activist, Israeli Miriam Peretz. And then, of course, when we come back, we'll enjoy the hustle and bustle of Machane Yehuda Outdoor Market on Erev Shabbat, which is not to be missed. Of course, we always have to go to Machane Yehuda to get ready for Shabbat. God willing, we'll be invited to Pamela and Abba Clayman's home in the Old City. They have an incredible home overlooking the Temple Mount. We'll have candlelighting there and then join thousands of people from around the globe, enjoy a celebration of Shabbat at the Kotel, at the Western Wall. We'll have Friday night dinner at the Waldorf Astoria. Shabbat, we are going to be praying at the impressive Great Synagogue, and we're going to have lunch at the hotel at the Waldorf with Gil Hoffman from the Jerusalem Post senior political correspondent. Will be joining us for lunch. So basically, for a lot of our meals, we're going to have personalities come and join us and talk to us during our meals, which is a nice way to interact with the local personalities in Israel and save us time on our trip as well. There's a walking tour of the beautiful Yamin Moshe neighborhood and the Montefiore windmill. I don't know why he has but I guess we have to tweak this because we have two different options. One is to have Sudat Shlishit with security expert Jordan Hertzberg. He actually lived in Palm Beach for a year or two. He lives now in Abu Tor, or in the Christian Quarter together with Mati Dan of Ateret Kohanim, an organization that buys homes in East Jerusalem. There's quite a few families who live in East Jerusalem, and Ateret Kohanim is the organization that makes that happen. We're going to have a musical Havdalah and barbecue. We're going to host a barbecue for the lone soldiers at the Michael Levine Lone Soldier Center. That's Saturday night, and then of course Saturday night on the town as well. We overnight at the Waldorf Astoria. We're up to day 6, Sunday. We're going to check out of the Waldorf Astoria on Sunday morning. And we're going to start with going to Rachel's tomb, Kever Rachel. It's not far from Jerusalem. It's probably a 10-minute drive to Jerusalem. And like the rabbi always says, you know, going to Israel and not visiting our matriarch and patriarchs are like going home and not visiting our parents. So it's an incredible time to pray at Rachel's tomb, not far, like I said, from Jerusalem. Moving on to, we're going to visit a unique growth farm founded by Jeremy Gimple and Avi Abramowitz on the easternmost point of the Gush Etzion region. I've never been, but Zev told me it's incredible. So I'm listening to him and putting that on the itinerary. Moving on, this is something that we went to, which is really incredible. It really is. Engage in anti-terrorism training under the expert guidance of former IDF commandos at the Caliber 3 shooting range. You have to bring your passport and wear closed-toe shoes. You get to really, basically you're in the trenches and really can feel what it's like to be in an anti-terrorism unit, kind of like FAUDA, I guess. So it's kind of fun, interesting, and very educational. We'll have lunch at the beautiful Gush Etzion winery and experience the biblical city of Hebron, including the cave of Machpelah, where Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, and Leah are buried, as well as Adam and Eve. We'll see the Avram Avinu neighborhood, the Beit Hadassah. The first Hadassah hospital was in Hebron, and the capital of Israel was actually Hebron. David actually set the original capital in Hebron. So a lot of the original things like the Hadassah hospital, the first Hadassah hospital is in Hebron. And the Tel Romeda and more, there's incredible areas in Hebron to visit. We spent a lot of time in Hebron. Every time we go to Israel, we go to Hebron. The rabbi and I and the children spent a whole Shabbat in Hebron. We slept on the roof of Rabbi Danny and Batsheva Cohen's home. They have a little, kind of like a little room, and we stayed the whole Shabbat there. So we'll meet with local residents and meet the great Rabbi Danny and wonderful Batsheva Cohen at their home in the Avram Avinu neighborhood. We're going to host a barbecue dinner for the IDF soldiers in Hebron. Again, subject to military approval, but we're hoping that that will work out. And from Hebron, we're going to transfer to the north and check into the Mitzveh Hayamim Spa Hotel. Never been, but I looked it up, and it's definitely for a north hotel. It's definitely on the caliber of the Waldorf Astoria. It's quite beautiful, and it's just outside of Tzfat. On Monday morning, we're going to visit the remarkable ancient synagogue of Ein El Kanafir, never been, that has been painstakingly rebuilt using revolutionary technological methods. So Zev told me it's incredible. I trust him implicitly, so I'm looking forward to seeing this. We're going to meet with former IDF commander Yaakov Sullivan at Tel Saki and hear about the incredible story of the battle there on Yom Kippur. Lunch and wine tasting at the boutique Bitzalel Winery in Kidmat Tzvi, and enjoy a nature walk hike in the streams of the Madraseh River. Prepare to get totally soaked, you know, not totally soaked, but, you know, definitely up to your waist. It's basically a water hike. It's an easy hike, but you're hiking through water. I've done it many, many times. I've done it when I was pregnant and with all the children. So it's really easy, but it's incredible to just hike through water. So that's something that's very special. We're going to go to explore the Golan Heights by Jeep in an off-road adventure and enjoy a beautiful boat ride with music and a drum circle on the Kinneret on the Sea of Galilee, and then have dinner in Tiberias at the famous Dex restaurant on the banks of the Sea of Galilee, the Kinneret. Beautiful. Okay, moving right along to day 8. We're up to the Upper Galilee now. We're going to discover the mystical city of Tzfat, including the beautiful synagogues, the artist colony, the candle factory. You know, there's something about Tzfat that even like as many times as you go, you cannot like miss out on going to Tzfat. There's something like that just pulls you to Tzfat. I don't know if it's because Hindi and Tani are there, but I always find that Tzfat, you know, people want to go to Tzfat. They want to shop in the artist colony. They want to just see it and just walk through it. Even though we've walked through it many times, there's nothing like a little slice of Tzfat, and especially because it's our sister city, our Federation sister city, Tzfat. So it's important to go there and and visit and spend some money there. I contacted Hindi and Tani this morning, and I was looking at our Tzfat itinerary, and it was kind of like what we usually do in Tzfat. And I texted her and I said, is there anything else? And she suggested this Middle Eastern music workshop. That's incredible. I don't know anything about it. I'm going to find out more about it from Hindi and Tani, but they said it's an incredible program. And so we're going to look more into it, but we put that on the itinerary for something a little bit different in Tzfat as well. We'll enjoy some shopping time and lunch in Tzfat. I know of a great place in Tzfat that makes these pizza wraps that we always go to, and we love to go there. So perhaps we'll go there as well. After Tzfat, we're going to enjoy Druze hospitality and meet with members of the community, visit under the auspices of the Fellowship of Christians and Jews. We went to a Druze community and it really enjoyed their hospitality in 2017. And so I'm not sure if we're going to the same Druze village, but we'll be going to a Druze village that is run through the Fellowship of Christians and Jews. We'll meet with members of the community, and it's quite enlightening. Moving on to, okay, so yeah, he put in this, in the north, there's a Hear About Life in the Shadow of the Hezbollah from a local resident, Eitan Oren, at Kibbutz Malkiah. There's 2 different kibbutzim. We went to visit one, and now we're going to visit the other. Zev said that this one would be a better fit. So we're going to Kibbutz Malkiah on the border with Lebanon and meet with IDF combat troops, of course, pending military approval, but you know, Kibbutz Malkiah, and I think it was Kibbutz something Zev. There, it's like literally you can actually see the porches of the people living in Lebanon. That's how close it is. I remember looking over, and it's like literally across the street. You can actually see a lot of Lebanon from this kibbutz. We're gonna jump over to Meron, and unfortunately Meron has been in the news. A very sad event happened on Lag BaOmer at Meron, and we're thinking that people might be interested in seeing Meron and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's grave site there, and it's not very far from Tzfat. So we're going to have some time for reflection at the tomb of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. We're going to have a dinner at the hotel at Mitzveh Hayamim with guest speaker Yusuf Haddad, an Israeli Arab who served in the IDF. Okay, this itinerary is 2 days and 9 nights. So, excuse me, 10 days. Did I say 2? It's 10 days and 9 nights. So we're up to day 9 in the Western Galilee. We are going to discover the exquisitely designed Or HaTorah Tunisian synagogue. The whole entire synagogue is completely bedecked with beautiful mosaics and stained glass windows. Every single piece of the synagogue is completely mosaics. It's incredible. And it's in Akko. We're going to explore the heavily fortified old British prison in Akko, where members of the Jewish underground were incarcerated and sometimes executed prior to the independence in 1948. When I went with my family for my parents' 50th anniversary, we went to this prison. It's eye-opening, it's horrifying, but it's an incredible experience, and it's important to know the story. We're gonna have lunch in Nahariya on our own, and then descend by cable car to the stunning Rosh HaNikra grottos, where the azure waters of the Mediterranean meet the chalk white cliffs. Rosh HaNikra is beautiful. There are incredible grottos there. Hindi and Tani were just there on Thursday night. There was a Yishai Rebo concert in the grottos. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to visit. And here, again, the FIDF was in touch with me today, and we're gonna visit, God willing, an IAF base in Ramat David, obviously pending military approval, but an Air Force base. I asked somebody who knows, like, is it better to visit an Army base or an Air Force base or an infantry base? So they're like, definitely, if you can get onto an Air Force base, definitely do that. So that's what we asked the FIDF for the Iron Dome battery visit and the Ramat David IAF base. So we gave them the dates, and hopefully they are going to arrange that. We're going to transfer to Tel Aviv. We're going to go down close to the airport and transfer and check into the Hilton Hotel in Tel Aviv. We're going to have a dinner on our own in Tel Aviv. We can go out and about the town. Our last day, okay, is we're going to enjoy a street art graffiti tour in the Bohemian Florentine neighborhood in South Tel Aviv and visit the state-of-the-art Peres Center for Peace and Innovation, which celebrates the vision of former President Shimon Peres and the incredible blue and white technological innovations that have changed the world we live in. We'll have lunch in Azrieli Mall or Azrieli Tower, and then explore the Museum of the Jewish People. This was formerly the Diaspora Museum, a very old museum, which has recently reopened following a major renovation. So I was there a few years ago. They were in the middle of the renovation, but now apparently they're complete the renovation, and they renamed the Diaspora Museum, the Museum of the Jewish People. Now, this experience is another incredible experience that Zev told me about, and it's experienced the thrill of flying an F-16 fighter plane on an advanced simulator under the direction of experienced IAF pilots. Zev said it's very worth it. It's a very important, exciting program to partake in, very special, and he highly recommends this. So I'm looking forward to this as well. After that, we're going to go back to the hotel. We're going to shower and get ready and pack up. We'll have a late checkout, and then we'll have a beautiful farewell dinner on the water in Herzliya, and then transfer to Ben Gurion Airport and fly back to the States. And that is our itinerary as of now. Now, we put this itinerary together, you know, just recently, like we finished it today. And from now until we leave, we have about 7 weeks. And there's so many different things in Israel that we could tweak and kind of put in and make it like really perfect. So this is, you know, the itinerary, like 90% of the itinerary. But again, we're going to tweak it and make it just perfect for our travelers and our participants, and whoever signs up will actually be able to, you know, discuss the itinerary and suggest different places to go visit. But ultimately, this is the base of our itinerary. So at this point, I think we're up to the Q&A. Let me check the agenda. Oh, the agenda is up here. Yep. So right now, we have the Q&A. I'm going to do the best I can to answer your questions. Whatever I don't know, I'll find out for you. So Myra, if you could read, or I could read the questions. Let's see. Do we have any questions in the chat box?
Nobody's asked any questions yet.
No? Okay, so give everyone a minute or 30 seconds to type in your questions if you have any.
I've had a few people ask me questions, and
Okay,
I can
great.
repeat them for the good of the group. One of
Yeah,
them was asking about the children, and that was answered.
Well, you know what? It's interesting because like right now, you know, their requirements change all the time. And so just because children aren't allowed in Israel. I mean, there are no vaccines for children under 13 to my knowledge now. So I think that is yet to be determined. I'm personally going to take my children for antibody tests to see what, you know, if they have antibodies perhaps, but I would wait on that because, you know, things change. So we're going to hold off on the children for now and see what comes up.
So there are some questions in the chat box. Helene Siegel wanted to know if we're going to see Yad Vashem.
So, you know, we could put that on our wish list. It's not on the itinerary right now. Yad Vashem is, you know, it's a very important place to go to. It does take a half a day, if not more. And we don't have a lot of time in Israel. And so, you know, for now, it's not on the itinerary. If the participants of the trip all vote and say, we all want to go to Yad Vashem, of course, we'll go to Yad Vashem. But for right now, it's not on the itinerary.
Okay, another question. I'm gonna asking about arriving earlier and departing later, and that was actually addressed a little earlier.
Right. Yeah. So right now we all have to kind of arrive at the same time and leave at the same time. I'm hoping that changes, but for now, that's the policy.
Okay. Another question is, well, we know when there's free time to connect with friends, and I do believe some of that is built into the itinerary.
Yes. There are free dinners, absolutely. Free evenings to connect with friends and family.
Okay.
So the ball, I see, do we have a ballpark price? Yeah, we do have a ballpark price. It's around $4,300, all inclusive, and that doesn't include airfare right now. $4,300, that includes all the hotels, the transfers, all the meals, everything, our guard, our guides, our bus, and 5-star hotels and accommodations. So that's where we're at. If we end up, you know, taking one day off, perhaps, depending on the flight schedule, then obviously it'll go down a little bit, but that's where we're at now. Yes.
Someone asked if someone needs a vaccine if they're 16 years old, and in the video he said currently you either need a vaccine or antibodies or and a test.
Yes, currently you either need a vaccine or you need a positive antibody test. Currently.
Any possibility of visiting Beersheba?
Yeah, so that was something that came up today. It was Zev and I was talking about like Beersheba and Stay Boker and, you know, the Dead Sea and all that. And he felt, you know, and I kind of deferred to him because he knows. He said, you know, the desert is very, very, very hot during the day. It's better to go in the evening. And we tried to find we did find a desert experience at night, which we'll go to, but it's just impossible to do everything in a short amount of time. So I guess we got to leave something for next time, but not on this trip.
Another question has to do with packaging the airfare. And I believe at the beginning we spoke and you said to hold off on booking tickets because we don't know if we need to travel as a group on the same flight.
So there is a flight, a direct flight with El Al from Miami, and it's around $743. I saw it today on Google Flights. You know, it fluctuates. You know, sometimes I check it's 743 and sometimes it's 756. But it's basically, it's direct from Miami to Tel Aviv on the 20th. And then there's a direct flight coming back, but it's the return ticket is coming back on Thursday morning, which would mean that we would slice one day off this itinerary. So we're gonna wait and see until next week if they open more flights. And if we have to fly together, we have quite a few people who are flying from New York, Boston. So if we in fact must fly together, we'll have to fly through Newark and pick up our New York and Boston friends and fly together to Ben Gurion. So that's the part that we're trying to figure out in terms of, do we must arrive on the same flight together, or could the Miami group arrive at 7, and the New York group arrive at 9:35 on that United flight, and we just wait for them and then go through security together. And that's why I would recommend to hold off on your tickets until next week. We hope to have more answers about exactly, you know, what they expect from us in terms of arrivals.
The last question that's in there, is the price the same for singles as couples? Maybe talk about do people room together if they are traveling alone? How does that work?
So there's always a single supplement if you have your own room.
Okay.
So it's based on double occupancy, and there's always a single supplement. But if there's other, you know, singles who are traveling, sometimes people kind of, you know, couple together and share a room. So we can see who our travelers are, who our participants are, and they can room together if they'd like. But there's always a single supplement when you have, you know, when you take a room on your own.
That looks like it's it. I don't see any other questions.
Okay, so okay, I guess let's see. Okay, so be in touch with me and Myra. Let us know if you'd like to be on the list. We'll send you the information where to send your refundable deposit to Israel Maven Tours. And we're going to continue to tweak this itinerary. If you sign up, we'll be in touch with you in terms of tickets and more information as it becomes available to us. So thank you very much. I really look forward to traveling together. I hope it all works out, and all the best. Thank you so much. It's really good to see you all. Hey, Barbara. I was looking at the pictures of Spain and Prague. Myra, could you unmute Barbara?
Yeah, sure.
Hold on. Okay.
Hi, all your trips have always been wonderful. Israel being the best, and Myra can sign me up. I just want to travel from New York.
Okay, so that's the thing. We might have to come and pick you up in New York and travel together, or maybe not. You know, in 7 weeks, a lot of things, you know, things hopefully will get better, you know, less stringent. So if we have to travel, you know, to New York, pick you up and we'll all go together, fine. And if not, we'll meet you there.
It sounds good to me.
Okay, I see Marlene there. Marlene, you've traveled with us. Hi, Marlene. Marlene, do you want to say anything? Yeah.
No, I mean, your trips are amazing because not only do we get to see Israel, but we also get to see, you know, hear your insights and the rabbi's insights. And that you can't replicate anywhere else because there is no other rebbitzin or rabbi like you and the rabbi. So, I mean, it's just an amazing experience that I am looking forward to, you know, having great memories from this trip with all of you.
God willing. And I see Yafa Halfone and Nadine Richterman there. Yafa and Nadine were on the 2017 trip. If you want to say something or, you know, just raise your hand and Myra will unmute you. Yeah.
It was fantastic and I wouldn't miss it. But we shouldn't tell that to too many people because then we'll have too many people signing up. So, but it's unbelievable. So I'm there and I already sent Myra an email.
Okay, and Yafa, do you have anything to share?
Yes, the bonding that you create, you know, sharing time with everyone during the trip is amazing, and you create new friendships. Just to highlight a few things, like imagine having Rabbi and Advar Torah every morning on the bus, going to a place all energetic every morning. And the trip is so well-rounded and fun. And you get to go to places that you cannot go on yourself. And because all the contacts that the Rabbi and Dini have make it possible. This is like a life-changing experience that you'll never forget, and looking forward to it.
I'd like to end off with Jacqueline Goldman. I see that Jacqueline is there. And it's so good to see you, Jacqueline. We'd love to hear from you. We know that you go way back with Israel. You knew the Mayor Teddy Kollek, and you were very instrumental in the whole Kotel Plaza, and your love for Israel is just unmatched. So Jacqueline, if you could.
Yes, darling, yes. You reminded me of many, many happy days in Israel. I just don't think I can take the trip anymore because I cannot, it's just too much. But I traveled with you as you were talking. I went back home and it was a lovely visit. It was a happy visit. I miss it terribly much and I wish you the very best on this trip. It looks as it's gonna be a fantastic trip.
God willing. Thank you, Jacqueline. And we'll share daily videos with you and pictures, and you'll be with us in spirit.
Indeed, indeed.
Thank you for joining us, Jacqueline.
Thank you, thank you. Have a wonderful time.
Thank you.
There's nothing more wonderful than to arrive in Israel and to spend some time there. All my best.
All the best. It's good to see you. Thank you all for joining us. And I look forward to speaking with each of you more about the trip in the coming days and weeks ahead. Lots of love. And I guess I could say Shabbat Shalom because it's Wednesday. So Shabbat Shalom, and hope to see you very, very soon.